So today I have a call from a Kevin and a Carlos who are in Colombia doing Amazon FBA services, and I think they have a pretty good business there. They want to know how they should be structuring their business. So let's get started. Let's jump into this call.
Haven't done my taxes, I'm too turned up. Haven't done my taxes, I'm too turned up.
Kevin, thank you for showing up for the call and everything. Normally how we do these calls is you can just give me a little bit of background about what you're doing, your situation, and then we can get into questions and advice, things like that.
Perfect. No, thank you, James, for having me on. Basically, the background is it's two brothers. I'm Kevin, my brother Carlos. Carlos is a U.S. citizen. I am a Colombian citizen with no ties to the U.S. We have an e-commerce business currently selling on FBA on Amazon. We're doing around 25K in revenue per month. We
Nice.
incorporated the business under my name, so under the Colombian citizens name in Wyoming as an LLC, just because I read on a couple of articles that we would get a lot of tax benefits doing that.
It's the same everywhere, really, but that's fine. Okay.
Okay. And then I spoke to a CPA. One had no idea. She was like, no, you can't even do that. And I was like, it's already done. I already got like the bank account. I got the EIN, everything. And then I spoke to another one and she said that it wasn't good that it was under my name because I can't have it taxed as an S Corp. Only U.S. citizens are allowed to do that.
Okay.
What else? Oh, we have a couple of other businesses going into that same bank account.
Basically different stores, right?
No, because we do like sales consulting as well, and we have a contract with 2 or 3 clients, and we just put all the money into that bank account.
It's not that big of a deal. Okay, so that's okay. Keep going. I think I have more.
And then the goal of the call is just what's our best, like tax wise, what's our best strategy to put this under the U.S. citizen's name or to leave it under my name? Like what's going to happen when tax season comes around?
So we have a couple things here. I have an office in Colombia. I'm pretty familiar with taxes in Colombia. The real issue is where do you want to pay your taxes, right? And how do you want to pay the taxes, and you want to pay it all, whatever you want to do, right? So if you want to pay the taxes in the U.S., an S corporation is great. And if you don't want to pay taxes in the U.S., how you're operating now with just the Colombian citizen owning the LLC is best. Because if you're doing Amazon FBA, you have no office in the U.S. and nothing like that, then no employees and stuff like that, no inventory really except for Amazon, the FBA inventory, then you don't pay any income taxes in the United States.
So that's
yeah.
No federal, no state income tax?
No federal state income taxes, because if you think about it, the LLC doesn't exist for tax purposes. It's just it's for legal liability. And you are basically then a person just doing business on the internet, selling to people in the US. But what really, like logically, what right does the US have to tax you, right? You're not doing anything there. How can they going to tax you? And I say logically just so you can conceptualize it, but then also there's law supporting it. It's basically the income is sourced to where it's effectively connected, and then there's different rules for what is effectively connected income. It's basically based on where you earn the income, and since you're earning it on the internet in Colombia, then that's where the income would be sourced to. That said, technically you should pick up the profits in Colombia 100% and pay taxes in Colombia. A lot of my Colombian clients just don't do it. Or they'll own like a Belize company, and then they'll have the Belize company own the LLC, or they'll have some kind of offshore structure, because Colombia hasn't really cracked down on that yet. So I do have a lot of clients with a corporate blocker that owns the LLC. So technically, if you have a corporation that owns the LLC, the income kind of stops there, because corporations are their own individual entities and they pay the taxes.
Okay.
So are you doing a quick question. Are you doing 25,000 in profit or in sales?
In sales. We're
Okay.
at around 5K, 5 to 7K in profit. Right now it's growing rapidly. That's why we were like, okay, now is the point to like get serious about this. We predict to be doing around 10 to 15 in profit per month, close to the end of the year.
So, okay. So you had a question about what I just said?
Yeah, so the question was, the best case scenario would be a corporation in Belize that owns the LLC in the States.
And the reason you do that is for more protection in Colombia. I have a really good attorney I can refer you to in Colombia that can review this and see how it works with you. I'm not a Colombian tax attorney. I could just tell you that in the U.S., you wouldn't pay any taxes on this in the U.S.
Even though there's not a tax treaty between Colombia and the States.
The tax treaty is more um, for how it's like a guide on how to do things. So in lieu of the guide, like it's like a guide on how to tax business that happens between the countries. So without the guide, without the treaty to refer to, it's basically straight on the Internal Revenue Tax Code.
Okay, got it.
So like, and that affects more like with dividend payments, interest payments, and rates of withholding on different kind of payments to entities in each other country, and also rules on permanent establishment. For example, if you had a U.S. corporation and you operating that, and Colombia says that the corporation is doing business in Colombia, and the Colombia wants to tax the U.S. corporation because you run the corporation. Like there would be no guidelines to how to do that. That's what a treaty kind of what a treaty does.
James, how do I know? Like when I spoke to the other CPA, and they were just like, no, you would have to pay around 37% in taxes because I'm not a U.S. citizen, and it's going to be taxed as a sole prop. That LLC that we have right now. Is there something I can show them, like a certain tax code, or I don't know?
Yeah, I have other videos about the tax code, but about like why a single member LLC doesn't pay taxes in the U.S. I think it goes in detail to the code, and I wrote a white paper on it. It's not really a full white paper, and I stopped giving it out because, it's kind of like legal advice. I have my name all over it and stuff, and it's just like I get myself in trouble. But really, what happened is this whole shift in how people do business happened really quick, and accountants have been so busy with their U.S. clients that they haven't picked up on the changes in the rules and seen how it applies. The big case law that I don't know if it's in the 50s or the 40s or the 60s or something. There's one big case that we use to support all of this sourcing of income, and I don't have the name of the case in front of me or anything, but the gist is there's a Mexican radio station that had an antenna in the U.S. and they're broadcasting to the U.S. and they're making profits on their income. But since they were doing all the work in Mexico, despite having an antenna in the U.S., they won the court case, and the U.S. didn't have the right to tax their income because all the services and all the work and all the assets are being done in Mexico. So that's like the case that it's all based off of, and that happened like 50 years ago. So it's kind of the same thing with like internet servers, and it's basically where the work is done, and there's code sections supporting that too. So if you plan on picking up some profits in Colombia, I think what you should consider is maybe running all the profits through one company, and then having your brother actually set up that S corporation in the US, and then you pay him out of the profits to his company, because the marginal tax rates, the lower level marginal tax rates are pretty low for individuals. And there are benefits to having basic income. For example, if your brother, let's say this is a year back and your brother was receiving profits 100K a year through his S corp, and paying himself payroll, he would qualify for a bunch of government aid
Yeah,
that's coming out and stuff like that. So,
I
you
know.
know, there's reasons to do it that way, and there's ways to do it so that you can minimize your tax and you know, do it legally and minimize your tax, which is obviously what you're having this call for.
Yeah. Okay. All right, James. So if we want to go ahead with your services and did figure out the best thing, what's next steps look like, or
Yeah, so for you, I mean, it's just a lot of options because you guys have your brothers with different residencies in different countries. What I would recommend for you guys is we do like a tax plan. So we do tax plans and then we incorporate opening the businesses into the tax planning. So the tax plan is basically me just confirming what I'm telling you in writing and
Mhm.
with references and things like that. So that's you know, a service we provide because obviously I can give you free advice, but um having it written and having it
Yeah,
with like
100%.
with the references and stuff to it are it's obviously you can use it as support instead of just because you've gotten different advice from every call you've done so far.
I know. It's so frustrating. What one of the things that I don't know if like CPAs do this or not, but what happens if the IRS comes after us? Like,
So,
do I show them, hey, James told me this. This isn't my fault, or how does that work?
well, with the IRS, you make a position, and then you just make a decision and support your decision with your references. I haven't seen. So if you go forward with doing a 5472, like the foreign owned LLC, and you don't pay any taxes in the U.S., I've never seen this challenge because since it's so new. The chances of audits are already really low, and although you guys are doing well on the grand scheme of the grand economic like
It's
U.S.
nothing.
plethora, it's nothing, right? So,
Yeah.
uh, you know, the audit risks are low. Second, if you do get audited, you have great support for what you're doing. You live and do all your work in Colombia, and this is not you don't have it's not a profile that the IRS would be like because right now I think the next big case that happens in this realm is going to be like a landmark like throw the book at someone case to try and like change the law forever, and it's going to be a lot of litigation, and you're not big enough to value doing that kind of litigation or anything, you know. So I think the risk of that is super low from the US. I think the risk in Colombia might be a little higher. If you don't pay any taxes in the US or in Colombia, the risk in Colombia might be a little higher because I know the DN is super aggressive.
Hmm.
I wouldn't ever bring any money back to Colombia. I would just use your US debit card for everything.
Hmm.
And
That's what we've been doing.
yeah, so I mean, the risk is really low, but when you take a position, you want to have it kind of written what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then do it right every year. And that way, it really, if you ever do get audited, the IRS sees that you're not just evading taxes. You put thought into it and you're doing it right. You're following your position. You know.
Okay. What about that? I like that other. So basically, I'm getting three things here. One is we just keep it the way it is, which is the LLC under my name. The other one is we create a corporation that's going to own this LLC, and we can create that corporation someplace offshore.
Yeah, we
Uh,
use Belize a lot, and it's really good for Belize can't have intellectual property anymore, but I think it'll still work. Whatever, we can look into it.
and the other one is keep it like this, and then my brother open an S corp, and all the profits just go to him,
His portion. I mean, you guys are.
his portion.
Assuming. Yeah, you pay him
Yeah.
out his
Okay.
portion of that, so that you can kind of that way you can. Another way we do it, like if you want to operate like this is fine, open a second LLC for yourself to pay your profits to that LLC. Whatever you want to, or like, or just a personal bank account would work if you have a personal U.S. account, so that way you guys can run a cleaner
I do.
operation. Yeah. Well, next time you're in the U.S., open a personal account. Probably at the same bank if you can. It's easier, and then that way you can operate. Because I think operationally as well. Because you know you don't want to have all kinds of transactions. It gets confusing for accounting. Who took what? Who's keeping track
Hmm.
of what? It gets confusing. So if you guys can run business in this account, 100% business, and then make your payments to your own personal accounts, and then pay taxes on that on your own level or however you want to do it. That's another idea because you got to think about operationally as well with partners and stuff.
So this LLC that is currently, it would be like a partnership really, and then it'd be owned by my brother's S corp and me, or
No, you can't have an LLC. You can't be partners with your brother, like officially on paper, with an LLC. If you have a U.S., so this is something that I wanted to mention that that your other advisors didn't talk about, is when you have a partnership with a U.S. citizen and a foreign person, um, it's doing business in the U.S. officially, and it has to pay taxes in the U.S. because it has a U.S. partner. So what happens when a U.S. partnership has a foreign partner is that partner's percentage of the profits, the partnership is required to withhold 37% on those profits. So if the company does 200,000 in profits, technically the partnership should remit $37,000, 37% of your $100,000 share of the profits to the IRS. And then you would have to file a personal return saying that the income is effectively connected and you don't have to pay, you shouldn't be paying taxes on the whole thing. And it's more costly, it's messier, it's more risk. It's much better for you to just own the LLC, run it through there, and then pay your brother his cut as professional fees, and he can bring it into his own U.S. company and pay his own U.S. taxes at his own level.
okay, so that's how I would transfer him the money. He'd be kind of like
Yeah, consulting. You just pay him, like whatever, like pay him. You send him just wire him money and say it's for services.
okay. Okay, and you could do that every 3 months or every year, whatever it is, every month.
You can do it every month. You can do it whenever you want. You got to keep track of it. You would have to report that, I believe, on the 5472 as like a related party transaction. I think since your brother's, I got to check I don't know, it's code section 272, whatever it is, rules about related parties and what needs to be reported. So you might have to report that. But again, it's payments for services. He's obviously doing work with you.
Wouldn't that kill the whole thing, because then the LLC has a dependent agent in the States? That S corp is basically just set up, and if they look, that S corp is just doing business for that LLC.
I wouldn't consider it a dependent agent. I think a dependent agent, and we can look into the code. I actually have that. Let me bring up my report that I wrote. I look at a dependent agent more as like a real employee, a person who lives in the U.S. first of all, and is authorized to make decisions on behalf of the company. And I think it's more about the location of the person. Does your brother live in Colombia with you, or does he live in the U.S.?
Yeah, he lives in Colombia.
So he lives in Colombia. So the agent would really have to live in the U.S. because because then you're doing business in the U.S. It's about physical location.
Okay.
So let me see.
All right. So far, this is the best call I had. I don't know if it's because it's kind of going the way I always thought it should go.
I mean, it's validation. I mean, this is all I do is work with people like yourself, especially in Colombia as well. So that's all I do. So let me just bring this up and share my screen. Open new window. I've shared this on videos before. Let me see how this works. Share screen. I'm going to share tax-free support memo. Just sharing this. You see? Are you watching? You follow my screen? You see this memo?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I wrote this fun little memo. It's not super scientific, but the example is actually, I think, with a Colombian guy named Juan, and whatever, I just made it up. So the Internal Revenue Code is similar to other countries, imposes tax on business income of foreign corporations or non-resident individuals only when the business activities of that foreign person within the United States rise above minimum thresholds. And if it's earned in the United States, it's considered effectively connected income subject to taxation in the United States. So residency, we know you're not a resident, so you don't pay taxes. How is an LLC treated for tax purposes? If it has one member, it's disregarded unless it makes a tax election. And then so it's a sole proprietorship, disregarded entity, or partnership, fine. Single level of taxation, sources of income, service in the United States, fixed place of business. Let's see. I have some about agents on here. So yeah, I think this is having a fixed place of business in the United States. So these are the code sections is 864, 864C5A1. So if you have an office in the U.S. that is a material factor in the production of income, then you are doing business in the U.S. If you have an agent or salesperson that has the authority to enter into contracts for the company in the United States, then that's when you would have effectively connected income. Or if you have an agent or salesperson that is not an independent agent acting in the ordinary course of his business, basically if you have an employee. So what your brother isn't, he's doing whatever he thinks is right. You're not telling him what to do every day, right? He's not your employee. You guys are partners, right?
Yeah, we're partners.
Yeah, so it's not, you don't have an employee. He's definitely not an employee, and he's definitely not doing any business in the United States. I would dig deeper into the regulations here to confirm this, but from what I understand, it really doesn't. I don't think you have any permanent establishment. That's a good question, though.
All right, and James, last question would be then, how much? I find it hard to believe like just paying zero in taxes. Let's say we keep all the profit in the LLC, and I'm just using my the debit card here in Colombia to pay all my expenses and that, and then I have 100K left over in profit, and I just keep it there, like retained. I think that's what it's called, retained earnings. I pay nothing in taxes on that.
No, that's the whole point. Not in the U.S. You don't pay any taxes in the U.S. Again, you got to refer to how to do it in Colombia. There's some different things we do in Colombia, but in the U.S., I just showed you some of the code sections. It's pretty straightforward to me that if a foreign person owns an LLC, he's doing business in his own country, no tax in the U.S.
No tax in the U.S. And if I keep that there, there's no tax on that.
There's no accumulated. So for a corporation accumulating earnings, there's a tax, but for an LLC, no, because technically the profits pass to you. So you already are paying tax wherever you're supposed to be paying tax, and the money's already taxed. So no tax.
Okay. All right. So I'd be taxed in Colombia when I bring that money here to Colombia.
I mean, can't comment on the tax laws in Colombia. Maybe you're taxed when you earn it. You're definitely if you send it to Colombia, they're gonna try and take money from it. What we advise, I'll tell you how to do that. When we advise our clients when they're sending money to Colombia, like business profits like this, send it to a company or something and register it as a capitalization, so that it wouldn't be like profits or money or like income received by your Colombian company. It's more of like capitalization of a company that you already have there. So it's different ways to bring it there without paying that 19% tax, the IVA. It's tough doing
IVA. Shit.
It's tough doing business in Colombia. Yeah.
Cool, James. I think that was.
Oh, I think I lost you. I think you lost service. What did you say?
No, that IVA, man. That IVA is. I'm more scared of that IVA than the federal state. And then the other thing we have to worry about is the state income tax and like the nexus and all that. And now I'm like, God.
Well, sales taxes is real, but Amazon manages a lot of that for you. So if you're mostly selling on Amazon, they should manage a lot of the sales tax stuff for you. But sales tax definitely is something you can't get away from. And it's also, if you do it right, it's only going to cost your business administratively to manage it. It's not going to cost you because you charge it to the customer. So it's not going to cost you
100%.
But definitely do it though, because if you don't collect it when you should have been, the states will make you pay it back, and you never collected it from the clients. So then that's when you get really hit.
Okay, James, I think that's all the questions on my end. I'm gonna speak with my brother, and then I'll probably send you an email or something.
Yeah,
see how much it would be to to go ahead, because I think this is exactly what we were looking for. We just need like all this, in writing kind of thing.
Yeah, of course. I think that's the way to go, and I'm excited for you guys doing well on Amazon, and I hope wish you the best of luck going forward. And we'll be in touch. Yeah.
Oh, thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot for this call, and we'll be in touch. Thank you,
Thanks,
man.
Kevin. See you, buddy. Okay, so that was a really great call. Kevin and Carlos really have an interesting business going on and a really interesting structure with multinational business owners. I gave them a bunch of different ideas and things they could do, and really, I think they got a lot out of the call. So, if you thought this video was helpful and you want more videos like this, please give me that thumbs up and please subscribe. And if you want to speak with me and have a similar call about your business, definitely use the link in the description and schedule calls. Call with Jim. And we're looking forward to talking with you guys. And, let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thanks for watching.